All right, everyone, welcome back into the LFC Transfer Room. My name is Jack, joined today by Kris. Little Friday afternoon, evening stream. We had the big announcement today. Philippe Coutinho is returning to the Premier League, but not wearing the red of Liverpool. He's joining his former teammate, Steven Gerrard, at Aston Villa. So, Kris, I mean, that's kind of the subject of today's video, but to start things off on this Friday, it's a lovely Friday. How are you feeling?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Got a green screen in the back. Got a new microphone rolling. I'm back in Cardiff. It's all good vibes today, mate. I've actually got a beaming light beaming onto me as well. It's properly properly weird. But yeah, I'm good and hopefully sounding nice and crisp for you.
Oh, you do sound great. You do sound great. And, I need to get my green screen going.
It's got to
Hopefully,
happen.
we'll have one of those going, but you look tremendous with that lovely green behind you. Um, but obviously, Coutinho was the big announcement today, a huge announcement. He had, 115,000 likes after just a few hours. I saw in that tweet, it was a huge bit of PR for Aston Villa, big get for them. So we'll start with the day's news before we kind of go more broadly with Coutinho. Good signing for Coutinho, good signing for Gerrard, for Villa. I mean, I'm interested in your thoughts on the 2022 Coutinho back in the Prem.
Any version of Coutinho is worth having in a squad, in my humble opinion. The way that he can provide some magic. He's known as the little magician, as we all know. It's a great move for Philippe Coutinho because he can go and prove himself under a manager who he knows will back him to the hilt because he's a very good friend of his, Steven Gerrard, of course. Um, Honestly, mate, I think it's a great move for Barcelona. They get one of their highest earners off the wage bill, and the finances are their main priority now. And getting Ferran Torres registered. So yeah, I think it ticks the boxes for all parties. I think Coutinho will absolutely flourish in an Aston Villa shirt. And talking about that social media announcement, by the way, what a terrible graphic. Aston Villa, bro. They decided to boot up Microsoft Paint for their graphic. Look, I've got no disrespect for it, but come on, you think like their biggest signing probably ever,
Yeah.
especially in recent years, anyway. To not to at least put a bit of effort in on the graphic and the announcement, bit of a strange one, but you know what, it's irrelevant in the end.
It was very simple. Just kind of like this gigantic Coutinho over Birmingham, if I remember it correctly. It wasn't the
Yeah,
most beautiful graphic. But no, I agree. We'll get to a Liverpool end of things in a little bit, but he is remembering him in a Liverpool shirt. It's just good memories in
it
terms of
is,
the,
isn't it?
the play. Won the trophies after he left, obviously. So the title dominance, or I don't even want to say dominance, the titles came after he left. But some great memories are made when he was here. I have my reservations on how good he actually is going to be in 2022 because I'm not the classic, afraid of the Premier League physicality kind of guy, but it is a role. He's a guy who's not been particularly he's been susceptible to injuries. He's been for 4 years now. He's been at Barcelona underperforming. Is that player just kind of gone? I'm not sure.
Um, Felipe Coutinho, if the Premier League's too tough for him, then so's every other league.
That's true.
But he performed probably his best ever in the Premier League. He had an okay season at Bayern Munich, okay, but his best years came at Liverpool in the latter end of his years under Jurgen Klopp. Then at Liverpool, so I think it would be foolish just to write him off on that basis. I think the basis would be confidence. Felipe Coutinho knows, and Steven Gerrard knows that Coutinho thrives off praise and confidence. That will be shattered after the last 4 years where he got his dream move and it didn't really work out for him, mate. It hasn't worked out for him, which is really, really sad. But yeah, I don't know. I think the league would be a little bit foolish to discount him, but I don't know about you, mate. We'll take out emotion out of a decision for Liverpool to say try and get him back. I know we'll talk more about this, but as a footballer, I would still take him back because I just think he provides something that a lot of other players don't, even at 29 and even at not the player that he was in 2017.
No, I mean, if you expected Coutinho heights with that level where he was, I mean, I don't know if it was you yesterday that said in the stream that he could walk into any team in the world when he left Liverpool. He could have done that. Everyone would have accommodated him. He was at that level. He was 140 million pounds for a damn good reason. So, he is a great footballer. My only reservation for Liverpool end of things, and actually, I'll give him. I think he will. I mean, he is in the best possible spot he could be at Villa. because Gerrard will back him. He will put a system around him that can try and get the best out of him. I'm really interested if he kind of fills that Grealish role off the left wing, or if he's more of an 8, an advanced 8, or even a number 10. I'm really interested in how he plays when that Villa side. So that's going to be very interesting over the next few matches. They play United twice and then Everton in their next 3. So he has a chance to really kind of make a nice mark in his return to the Premier. He still has COVID. So he's got, I think, about 2 more days of isolation before he can make his move to England. In terms of Liverpool things, is he better than Oxlade-Chamberlain as a midfield option? It may hurt you a bit, Kris.
Yes,
I
he is.
I think he is.
But also, mate, what you have to consider is the wages that you would have to pay to get a player who probably wouldn't start.
Yeah.
I love him, but
yeah, at Villa he's a guaranteed starter, I think, and they can afford to pay 65% of his wages, which are already really high. So I'm unsure how much that actually ends up equating to. If you know,
I think he's on around about £400,000 a week at Barca.
So he's being paid around not quite 250, but about 225.
Yeah, for 6
per
months.
week for 6 months. So it's a really big financial investment from Villa. They have an option to buy. I would say it's fine to not sign him if you sign someone else. David Ornstein saying today that Liverpool are interested in another midfielder, but if January comes and goes, no midfielder is signed, I'm going to sit here and say you could have got for a loan £225,000 a week. You could have made the fans shut up because they could have seen Coutinho back again, and you didn't do that. I would have no explanation for that. There'd be no explanation for that.
I think there's priorities that drift away from Liverpool re-signing a player like Coutinho, but we should be looking more at a out and out winger who can also play across the front 3. I don't think Coutinho can do that, or a out and out 8. I don't think I really know Coutinho's best position anymore. At Villa, though, he could slot into either of those roles and be the star. I mean, look, Watkins, Buendia, Coutinho, with Danny Ings in front of them, that is a very, very tasty attacking unit. Don't forget Coutinho also knew Danny Ings from playing at Liverpool with him. They had a good relationship in the first couple of games of 15-16. So that could reignite. Christian Perslow also, the CEO of Aston Villa, I think he is. I don't know the actual the title he has, but he was at Liverpool when Coutinho signed. There's a lot of home comforts for Coutinho, and I think that will help him. Moving away from Liverpool, he didn't have the sort of the adulation of the fans. He had more selfish, fans who were hungry for success, like Barcelona. I'm not saying that Liverpool fans aren't hungry for success, but they do love players more, in my humble opinion. And Coutinho was, that kind of player who was adored by everyone. And I think he'll have that at Villa. He's coming in familiar surroundings in the Premier League with a great squad around him and a manager who believes in him. I think it's a recipe for success.
I think the expectations are quite low for him, which is important. If he came in with the expectations, when he puts that Liverpool jersey back on, he wouldn't be wearing the 10 again, but there would be the expectations, go set the world alight like he used to do at this club. Those low expectations would be good for him. From a Liverpool end of things, if you're a stat guy on FBref, don't go and look at his La Liga 2021-22 stats, because he's only played 500 minutes, so it makes his per 90s look like he looks like he's the greatest footballer of all time. Like his passings, everything is the 93rd or better percentile. His dribbling and his just possession is all 95 plus, because he's only played 500 minutes. So he has 500 or 58 carries a game, per 90, which just is not I don't believe a possible statistic to have. 58 progressive carries per 90. That's just an unbelievable stat. So don't look at those if you are nostalgic, and that would hurt your heart. But the only reason why I would not understand Liverpool making this move, especially considering there was some discussion around it, is they're looking elsewhere. Because I'm struggling so hard to understand how this ownership group can look at the squad and say they are not in need of one player at least. Dan Juma, €75 million release clause.
Talk more about in another video, of course. We'll talk about all of these in streams and videos, right? I think they look at it, and I think it's a matter of principle as well. With Coutinho, I mean, if you look at it, Jurgen Klopp, that famous quote, stay here and they'll build you a statue. He didn't stay. You know, and you can't begrudge him that move, okay? But at the end of the day, he left, and you know, we end. I don't think Jurgen Klopp will work with a former player again. There's not been any instances of it in his career. You know, it won't happen.
Yeah, no, let's talk about that move. I think there's been some, not revisionist history, but there's been some people saying, looking back on that window, that 2018 window where Coutinho left, Van Dijk came in, was that a mistake letting Coutinho go in the past? I don't think it
No,
was. I've seen people say, "What if we signed Van Dijk and kept Coutinho?" I think that this squad is entirely built on the back of that Coutinho money. Every single part of that is built on the back of Coutinho money.
I think we could have got Van Dijk and kept Coutinho, but it would have set the club back enough that they wouldn't have signed Alisson, Keita, or Fabinho. And I do think that all three of those have made significant contributions enough. Keita less so than the other two, but the signings of Alisson and Fabinho are astronomical in our history. Don't forget moments that Xherdan Shaqiri provided us as well. So I think our net spend in 2018 was something around 70 or 60, 70 million. I mean, if you take out that Coutinho, if you take out the Van Dijk deal, that's pretty much even. So, yeah, that's how it is.
Whenever I look at great sides, they have like great spines. You know, the center of defense, good holding mid. You know, that's what Liverpool already went for, a good keeper. You know, get a guy in net, get a great world-class center back, world-class defensive mid. Keita was a world-class central midfielder if he had come in and lived up to that potential. If you think about what they could have done with those 4 signings, those could have been 4 of the best players in the world if they all lived up to it. I think they had 3 out of 4. So to get 3 out of 4 is still remarkable, a remarkable success rate from those transfers. But, you know, we've seen, you know, how many windows have FSG actually spent money, like a serious amount of money? 2018 summer, but that was off the back of Coutinho. I think without Coutinho, we're looking at an entirely different discussion around FSG and around these trophies because this team is not nearly as top heavy as it is now.
I mean, the summer before we got Salah, the summer before that we got Mane and
But the thing is, though, those were great, shrewd deals. You don't win titles with shrewd deals. You have to go out and make waves at times.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think, look, I admire the way FSG do business. Like genuinely, I think it's refreshing in this modern game of just unsensible. My favorite quote about FSG are they are overly sensible in an overly unsensible market.
Yeah.
And you know, I admire the way they do business, but it's not going to last for long if you don't go out and you don't take advantage of the market while it's there. And I don't think they have done in the last, well, since we won the league. We haven't. I think Tsimikas, Jota, and Thiago have been great signings, but they needed to be more like shifting in that squad because otherwise it'll get stale.
I think that window, Tsimikas, Jota, Thiago, is a 10 out of 10 window. If you have had, that Liverpool should have been doing every single window.
Especially when you move players on.
Exactly. That was the perfect kind of window for doing that kind of thing. And if I think that window almost, we look back on that a little bit too negatively because of the window prior to that, where it was just Adrian and
Harvey Elliott and Sepp Vandenberg.
Like Harvey Elliott will potentially be a great gem out of that window. But if you had signed a £40 million player, £25 million player, and a £12 million backup player that you can develop, that is how you keep this squad fresh. I hope they learned their lesson because this coming window, I think they need to make really big, overwhelming 2018 style changes as opposed to being able to kind of more slightly tune things. And I think that kind of bringing it back to Coutinho doesn't really make sense if that's what they're trying to do. If they're going to try and do a big overhaul in the summer, Coutinho doesn't make sense even for 6 months.
I agree, 100% agree. But overall, like just to sum it all up for us, I think Aston Villa is the perfect haven for Coutinho to grow and develop once again and become maybe not half as good as he was before, but at least a pale identity of it. He genuinely, I think, has the potential to propel Aston Villa into Europa League spaces. Or maybe even maybe Conference League, but they've got now one of the best attacking units in English football, in my opinion, and they need to use it.
Yeah, and I think with Gerrard, especially as the manager, they're backing him with some seriously talented players.
Yeah,
It's very, very good to see. At the moment, they are in 13th place in the table. With one win, though, with their match in hand, they could catapult themselves into the top half and 10th. So it's fascinating with what happens next.
I agree.
But the final verdict,
It's going to be enjoyable.
Final verdict from you, Kris, is not a mistake to miss on Coutinho.
No, it's not a mistake from Liverpool's point of view, and it's an absolutely brilliant signing from Aston Villa's point of view. And no, what anyone says, are my second team.
All right, that's going to do it for our video here today, discussing Philippe Coutinho's transfer to Aston Villa and Liverpool's potential ability to have brought their man back to Anfield. Well, what are your thoughts on that? Let us know in the comments down below if you made it all the way through, and let us know if we should have brought Coutinho back. And if no Coutinho, what players should be brought in this window for Liverpool Football Club? We'll do our best to bring you all the information on them that we can do. But for Kris, I've been Jack, and this has been the LC Transfer Room. We'll catch you next time.